Um, what? Tell me about your first few days in Jamaica.
Yeah, it was nice to get here to start with.
Yeah.
Get over and get sort of miles in the legs in the last couple of days of training. Nice to be back in Jamaica. We haven't been here since 2014, I think. So nice to get a run out and get a feel for things again and find out when our schedule's going to be. So it looks like tomorrow and Sunday.
Were you able to do anything in Florida, Paul? In those 10 days?
Not overly. There was some bizarre change of rules, I think, from the American government, which allowed us maybe to get out after 5 days, but you're not allowed to fly before 10 days. So there was that sort of in-between period where I could get out, walk and see the sights a bit, enjoy the sun. But it was important to get out of the room, I think, and get the legs going, so that you don't get over here completely under.
Were you able to watch the match?
I did. I watched it. Yeah, watched it all. Watched the whole thing.
What's your thoughts on it? One that got away?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's quite a similar story to what we've had in the past. The same areas that we need to work on probably cropped up again. So I wouldn't say it was an absolute disaster. I've seen games like that with all the things going on in the background go a lot worse than that. There's a lot to work off. I think if we perform to that same level and maybe add 10% in the areas that were quite obviously went wrong, I think we've got a good chance. I think things went pretty well in terms of we won the toss. It looked from afar, from a different country, that it was tricky at 9:30 in the morning. I think we used that pretty well. We got our rewards maybe after the power play, and then it looked like maybe they were getting away from us, and we pegged it back well. So we did a lot right. But to win ODI cricket against good teams, you've got to do a lot right more often and for probably the whole day. So that's our challenge. It always has been our challenge, putting 100 overs together, because we're probably not a good enough team to win half of the game or 60% of the game and come out as victors. So we've got to be good for 7 hours of the day tomorrow and Sunday.
And on the what's the latest on the squad? Have we still just got the 4 COVID cases?
Yeah, it's actually quite hard to keep track.
Yeah.
We're hoping that maybe a couple of the early contingents who went into the COVID rooms might be available. Certainly, if not Thursday, would be disappointed maybe if they weren't available for Sunday. But there's just so much to take into consideration. First and foremost, that they're all right and healthy. Even if they produce negative tests, they still need to be fit to play. I think that will be. There's still a lot to go before we see them on the park. But fingers crossed, everyone here, A, hopes they're well, and B, if they get negative tests and feel healthy, we'd love to see them on the park as well. So still a lot to go before we can make any decisions.
Yeah,
that's the good news. No new cases and an ODI series. It's going to be completed. So a couple of positives on this tour yesterday for sure.
Andy McBride and Mark Adair going to be fit? Do you know yet at this stage?
I certainly think Andrew will be. He passed his concussion test. Hopefully not speaking out of line. I know that's certainly with Roysa. It's ongoing. I think that's been a daily sort of assessment. But I think the signs are good. He certainly had a good hit yesterday at practice, a good ball. Looks in good nick. Chatted to him, so he's in pretty good form. Mark again has had 2 pretty full practice sessions. Working his way up, hopefully to full fitness, and again available for selection tomorrow. Don't see any reason why not, unless things go pear-shaped today at practice for our last one.
Alvin of BBC.
Hi, Mark. How are you keeping? Hello, Mark.
It's Paul.
Or Paul, sorry. Paul, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Sorry, my head's going here. Just on the COVID question, how tough was it for you and the isolation that comes with it? And would it be fair to say a number of players have struggled mentally with isolation periods during what has been a long tour?
Yeah, so there's probably a couple of points there. I think I've been quite lucky because I'm used to it. I've played a lot of cricket since COVID started, maybe even up there with maybe some of the most cricket. So from my personal point of view, it felt like just another 10 days, because that's all we've been doing for 2 years. I'm good in my own company. I quite like being by myself. I'm fine with it. So from that point of view, the 10 days flew in. The only thing I'm disappointed in was missing cricket. So I missed an ODI for the first time in God knows how long. That was the most disappointing thing for me. It was very strange watching from afar, not even being in the same country. So that was the most frustrating part for me. But to go to the other half of your question, it's very difficult. There's no getting away from that. Everyone reacts differently to news, to positive tests, even if you're negative and you've sort of got that anxiety of, will it be me next? Which this is probably our worst tour from that regards since this started. I think we've been really good, considering it's been around for so long. I think we were here 2 years ago before COVID started, and the first one was in India against Afghanistan. That's when it really kicked off. And to go from then to this tour pretty unscathed. There's been cases on the way, but we've managed to isolate it and make sure that it doesn't spread across the whole unit. And this just seems to be one of those ones where it feels like it's just our turn. We know it's been across the world. We've seen the West Indies, our opponents, just in Pakistan recently, had a shed load. I don't even think it was countable how many cases they had. And I think they understand what position we were in. I think they've been helpful in making sure that we get this series on and scheduled. So it's just one of those ones. It's quite hard to process. I think that for the majority of our lads in this bubble, they don't play cricket all year round everywhere in the world. So when these things start cropping up, it is tough. If you're not used to it, you're away from home. You're not sure if you're going to get home when it gets to this part of the tour. All things that are just part and parcel of it at the minute. And just to sort of finish that, hopefully this is going to ease out with time this year. I don't think there's too much left in terms of. I don't think there's too much rope left with the players of having these sort of bubbles as we go forward. So I think the next 3 or 4 months, an easing out of these protocols would be pretty high on our list of things that we want to get out, get out of this COVID situation. So yeah, hopefully that's answered your question.
Just on looking forward to Thursday's game. I mean, how big a task is it now without key players missing? And also, it's quite a difficult situation when for yourself as your first game, ODI game as captain. So are you looking forward to that as well?
Yeah, I'm certainly. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it greatly. Extremely disappointed that Balbo and the head coach, David Ripley at the time, won't be able to make it to the ground. It's obviously going to hinder us, especially with Bal's runs. Recently in ODI cricket, he's been doing really well. So we're going to miss that. That's stating the obvious. It's on the flip side. It's great to have Porterfield with us. So much international experience. But that's definitely going to help me. I don't think he's going to be roaming around the boundary as much as he was the other day. It's going to be great to have him around and have his insight, because if I haven't captained an ODI game yet, he's captained a million. So it'll be great to have him around and see how we do. And you know what, we've lost key players. We're missing key players, but on the flip side of that, the opportunities for the lads coming in is huge. It's a big period now with the new coach coming in 2 months' time. I don't believe there's any more freebie games or just games that you can go through the motions. It's a tough situation. We'll pick a team to play, and the 11 players that go on the park, there's so much to play for from 1 to 11. Going forward, there's so much cricket. Looking at the schedule for 2022, and there's so much cricket, and every opportunity for lesser cap lads is a great one.
David Townsend.
Greetings, Paul. I
Hello.
hope you can hear.
Yes, I can hear.
How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you? Good to hear your voice.
Good to see that smile on your face as well. So,
It's been missing for a few weeks.
Just a few questions about your captaincy. Are we going to be able to notice any sort of difference in style from you as we would see if Andy was in charge?
That's a good question. I don't think I can have. I think it's a bit like the interim situation with Rips coming in for a couple of months. I'm not going to be rocking the boat and picking a few different lads or going too extreme. But I think certainly having watched the game in the first ODI, there's a lot that you can see on the TV. Now you were miles away, I was miles away, so to get the insight of what was actually happening at the game, but I think there was a few obvious things that looked fairly difficult batting in the morning. So I think their blueprint of how to get a score, how they managed to get 270, if we do manage to be batting first, I think is a pretty good blueprint. It seems to be wickets in hand for the first hour or even longer than that. I think that's a given, and hopefully we go well at the back end. And on the flip side, or whatever from that, if we end up bowling first, I think we can do maybe slightly better with the ball up front, and maybe when batters are coming in, we can maybe put more pressure on them to try and get wickets instead of. I think we've had it a lot in the past where we start really well, but just sort of ease through the motions and sort of let them get a partnership built, and they finish strong. So there's a couple of things to avoid and a couple of things to really stamp our foot down if we get ahead. Hopefully.
You've obviously played a lot with Porty as well as Andy. Would you picked up different things over the years, different little tips for the captaincy from the leadership from both of them?
I think so. I think they're very different captains. I think you have to put your own spin on it. I think if anyone tries to be someone else in life at anything, you come off second best. So you've got to do whatever your gut feel tells you to do. And if it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off. But ultimately, it's your decision, and you're rounding the trips to go well. So certainly, it'll be brilliant to have Porty's insight. He always has something of note and something that will be of interest. So tactically, he's been around the block. We'll see what we come up against. I think with the pitch and start time that we do have, I think you've got to be able to adapt. Things can happen extremely different. It can be between 9:30 and 3:15. You could be talking two different sets of tactics, completely different field sets. So I think it's managing it on your feet. Again, haven't done it, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely not going to be perfect, but looking forward to the challenge.
Thanks, and enjoy it, eh?
Thanks, mate. Good to hear from you.
Matt from Crick Info.
Hi, Paul. You're right.
Matt, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Just on the COVID protocols again, I think you said they were fairly relaxed at the start of the US leg compared to some of the bubbles you've been in. Has it sort of tightened up as you've gone on throughout the tour? Obviously, your situation a bit different with positive test.
Yeah, so it was managed environment at the very start. We would call them relaxed compared to what we've had, but we certainly wouldn't call them relaxed in total. We were allowed to go outdoors for food and drink, or generally be outdoors, masks on all the time, no eating inside, no apart from our team room, no gatherings. So it was nice to be able to have those relaxations. It was in a part of the world that was probably as COVID positive as you can get, and that was pretty disappointing timing. Whatever. Yeah, I think we've got here, and it's a normal bubble, but that was always going to be the plan. I don't think there's been much that's actually been tightened except for quarantine period here because of the positive tests in Miami. So yeah, it's more normal now because this is what bubbles have been like the whole time. It was nice to get out and about in Miami because, to be brutally honest, if those relaxations or freedoms weren't there, I don't think the tour would have gone ahead. Certainly chatting around players around the world, and in our camp, if that had been a bubble from, what was it, the 19th to whatever date we left to now, I don't think that would have been doable. So to get some cricket, we got T20s in. We were unfortunate not to get the ODIs in. It would have been nice to play, but that period of time over Christmas away from your family, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn there, that it would have gone ahead without those restrictions eased.
And from conversations you've had both with sort of Ireland teammates and then also at various franchises or whatever that you've played in over the past couple of years, do you think we are approaching the stage where players are just going to turn down tours and say, look, we're not signing up for this if we're still having to bubble up 2 years on?
Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt about that. I think the restrictions are now no longer to do as much with health and safety as they are to make sure that competitions go ahead, and financial reasons for companies, organizations, franchises makes it work from that point of view. So when that starts happening and that transition is so apparent, and you feel as a player that you're just being maneuvered on the chessboard to make sure that happens, that's I think when people are going to be pulling out fairly swiftly, and I think that's probably not far away, or else rules will be broken as you go, so they accept it, but then they won't make it 2 weeks down the line. It will be a completely different situation. You might have people flying out and flying in because it's impossible.
And just lastly, how would you say Ireland as a sort of cricketing nation, I guess, have coped with COVID over the past, coming after 2 years now? It seems like you guys have been, relatively unfortunate in terms of thinking back to this time last year in Abu Dhabi. There were postponements, cancellations, that sort of thing, and then similarly lost a few games on this tour.
Yeah, I think as a whole, I think we would actually think we've done pretty well. I think most of them between the start and now, not that you can blame anyone else, but it seemed like we had our camp in a good way. Our discipline was good. We were sticking to the rules, which is it's easier said than done sometimes. But we had a pretty good record, and I think whenever positive cases came out, we nipped them in the bud and stopped it in its tracks. And this is the first time probably where it's just lingered. 2 cases here, geez, I hope that's it. Then 2 cases again and again. So we haven't managed to avoid it this time. I don't think I don't know many teams that haven't completely avoided it, even the franchise tournaments. It's near impossible. So it's maybe time to start moving on in a direction a bit quicker.
Ian Watson.
Hi, good day, everyone. Good day. I know I might be just straying away from the series a little, but I've been looking at something over the past couple of years, and I know one of the commentators, Ian Bishop, brought it up as well. He says that since Ireland has gained test status in 2017, Ireland has only played about 3 tests. How disappointed are you concerning that, and has that slowed down the progress that Ireland would like to make, even in the white ball formats?
How long have you got? I think we would obviously like to be playing more test cricket. I don't think there's any hiding from that. I think maybe the timing of the test match status could have been better. We had a pretty good generation just before in the 5 years preceding the decision, and I think we probably would have been in a better position then to actually really compete and play more games. On the other side is the world cricket's going down the white ball route a lot, and our performances in T20 cricket haven't been up to scratch. So to take away the test matches and play a lot more T20s in the hope that you progress quick enough to be a side that challenges the big teams in T20, you can go down that route as well. It's a really difficult one. It's not one that I don't think it's easy for the powers that be. We would want to play. We know it costs a lot to play Test cricket. Can we compete year in, year out in Test cricket? There are questions probably not for me and as the standing captain for us, hopefully a sole ODI tomorrow. But yeah, from a player's point of view, personally speaking, would love to play Test cricket. You're challenging yourself against the best players in the world in the hardest format, and there's there's no doubt about that. But again, we need to improve our white ball cricket dramatically in both forms, because that appears to be the way cricket's going as well.
Lennox Aldred.
Greetings, Paul. How are you doing?
How you doing? You all right?
I'm great, man. Just a quick question. I know mentally this must be tough to try to get through the remaining ODIs. Is it a situation where your players just want to get this over with and head home, or you guys really here to to probably square the series or even win the series?
I think it's once you take uncertainty away, everyone can be able to switch on. So with the uncertainty and anxiety around the camp, that's when things crack and people go in different directions. You've got the people who just want to play cricket. You've got the people who really think this isn't where we want to be. We want to go home, and you've got to find somewhere in the middle. Once that certainty is there, which it is now, we're playing games on Thursday and Sunday. We've had 2 practice days, 3 practice days leading up to this, and 2 more before the next. That's when certainty comes back into our players' lives, and we can focus on that. So now that we know what we're doing, there's absolutely no doubt we're here to try and pick up 20 points. Our focus is there. We'll do everything we can. We have to try and put everything that's gone on behind us. So we're ready to play. Not saying it's going to be easy circumstances. Hopefully I have a better hit today personally and bat a bit better because a bit sluggish, but that's just what we're dealing with. We're professional cricketers, and by definition we've got to get on with it. So I think that's a good question, but once we knew this is what we're doing, we're ready to go.
All right, thanks a lot, man. All the best.
Cheers now, thanks.
John Kenny.
How you doing, Paul?
John, how's it going?
Good, mate. Nobody's asked you actually how you're feeling. You mentioned it kind of briefly there, you were saying you're a bit foggy. How are you feeling?
Yeah, okay. I reckon I had two dodgy days. A good bit ago in Miami. You get back out there, but you're never quite sure. Even though you're feeling good, sort of in a good headspace towards the latter end of it, you get out here and jog around 2 days ago, and felt like I was in the Highlands in South Africa or whatever. So it felt strange, but it's nice to get a hit. It's nice, actually, the extra day now. I think we're getting our extra 2 days for the ODI. I think it's going to hopefully help. In saying that, I might lose the toss tomorrow. We might get put in. It could be trying to survive mode. So we'll see. From a health point of view, feeling good. I'm glad it's over. Actually, the people who have had it are so glad they've already had it, because I think that maybe takes you off for 6 months where you can just focus on cricket. We've got qualifiers coming up. The last thing we want is this sort of environment where people are unsure. And there's such big games. We don't want to know if people are maybe going to be unavailable the next day. So I think people who have had it have actually relaxed a bit once they've gone through the worst of it.
In terms of the bubble that you had in the US, you say it was a bit more lax. Was that maybe a mistake now at this stage?
I don't think it was a mistake, because again, as I said earlier, I don't think the tour would have gone on. So I think that's the choice. That's not my choice in terms of if the tour goes on or not. But going away over Christmas for the first time in a different country, if you're going to propose it with the full bubble that we're in now in the West Indies, goodness, who's going to say yes to that? So it could only be relaxed. And I say relaxed. It's eating outdoors. It's allowed to move outdoors. It's 15 minutes in places to get your essentials. It's not. I wouldn't say it was extremely enjoyable. I've had better times in other places in more relaxed environments, but it certainly was the way that we see it going forward. Is that as an absolute bare minimum of what we're allowed to do.
Yeah, there was a suggestion that there was a Christmas party with everybody not socially distanced. Is that true or not?
We had Christmas lunch together, yeah, which we're obviously allowed to do. Is that yes, and we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, no, it's just a suggestion I heard, Paul. So I just wanted to ask you that question anyway. So
we had Christmas lunch. We had a Christmas lunch and drinks, yeah, in our team room. Like.
Okay, well, good luck there the next couple of days.
Thank you. Cheers, John.
Back to Ian.
Oh, just a couple of things I was going to ask Balbo about the first match. Obviously, they're going to be your problems tomorrow. Delaney for Dockrell. George was given the second spinner's role ahead of Gareth. Any problems with Gareth, or is it still an option for you tomorrow?
I think it's still an option, to be honest. Yeah.
Do you know why George was chosen?
Sorry?
You know why George was chosen first? No?
Actually not, no. Don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Good question. No, I haven't been around that. I've just seen the practice for the last 2 days, and we probably haven't got chatting about specifics of cricket yet. We know we've got a day to do it today, but the last 2 days have certainly been pretty manic. Getting around, seeing how people are feeling. Plenty of meetings, what's going on. So now that we know what's going on, I think we can get into the cricket specifics. And those are the nitty gritties that I've got sort of 24 hours or less to get to know better.
Obviously, we lost 2 points because of a slow over rate. Took 4 hours to bowl the 50 overs. Are you going to cure that problem tomorrow?
Yeah, I was asking around yesterday, sort of the reasoning behind that. Usually, when you get off to such a good start, where the ball's going through to the keeper a lot, that problem doesn't necessarily happen. So it may have just been getting used to the longer format again and trying to get in between overs quicker. So it's probably one of the first ODIs we've bowled in a long time I can remember, without the two spinners potentially, without Simi there. It's an extra. You're probably taking 20 minutes off there with this spell usually. So something to think about. Certainly, it's damaging because it's basically a loss, isn't it, if you take away the 2 overs from the points table. So from that point of view, we do need to get it fixed.
Thanks very much.